Go ahead and start getting started. Um, Good morning to those of you who it is morning for. We're about 50-50 between North America and Africa, it looks like. Um, we'll give people a couple more minutes to sign on before we get started. So if you want to unmute yourselves and chat a little bit, introduce yourselves, feel free. But if you're driving or otherwise can't do that, no pressure.
Hey,
Sonia.
I'm making oatmeal, but I can chat.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Kayla?
I'm falling apart a little bit right now, for
Yeah.
being like totally honest. Yeah.
Any
Um,
luck finding a ride home for Niffler?
no, nothing yet. And it's for barley, but yeah.
Oh wait, I thought it was
Yeah.
Niffler that you were getting back to Colorado.
No, it's barley. Niffler has heartworm, so Niffler does not get to go do his next job.
Oh, for some reason, I guess I
Yeah.
thought maybe he was coming here to recuperate with someone.
Yeah, God, that would honestly be kind of nice, but no, he's gonna stay here with me. Um,
So,
Apparently inside my mouth. Um, hey, bud. Okay, that's enough. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Kayla.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. In the
and he
grand
was,
scheme of things,
Yeah,
it's
maybe that's
treatable.
hard to bring up right
Yeah,
now. Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm so sorry.
yeah. No, it totally sucks. Like in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty treatable. He should make a full recovery, blah blah blah. But like yesterday I was like away in a Google Scholar hole, like trying to figure out like what are the exercise restrictions? Like what is the research behind this? What's allowed, what's not allowed, what is dangerous? And like it just seems like despite heartworm being super prevalent and like, we all do heartworm preventative
Yeah.
the time, there's just not a lot of there's research on the medications, but there's not a lot of research on the like exercise side of things. And I suspect it's just because it's so unusual for a dog that is being treated like given preventative appropriately to get it. I think it's kind of a neglected, like not quite, it's not a tropical disease, but like it is a disease that I think is just less well understood than it should be for its prevalence.
Oh,
did,
wow.
did they find it just through like annual testing
Yeah,
or
so
did he have some symptoms?
he was gonna get a dental cleaning.
Oh,
So they
wow.
just did blood
Oh,
work. And at first I was hoping that like it was a false positive or because he doesn't have any real symptoms. His heart sounds good, his lungs sound good, he's not coughing. What I was reading last night, when I was trying to find the exercise info that just doesn't seem to exist, it does sound like once his treatment really gets going, his symptoms are probably going to get worse before they get better.
oh,
Um, like as it's gnarly. I don't know. Like as the heartworms die off, that's when things get really bad, and that's when you have to be
um,
really careful about exercise because there are like dying worms inside of his heart, and as those
oh,
like circulate in the bloodstream, like that's when you have to be really careful not to get their heart rates up. Um, yeah, it's really gross. It's really gnarly. It sucks.
oh.
Um, yeah, and he's hanging in there right now. Like thank God for trazodone, but it's been less than a
Hmm.
week. Uh, and it'll be May 14th. If everything goes right, May 14th is when he's cleared to go back to exercise. So it's just,
Holy
Um,
cow.
yeah, like honestly, it's worse than a TPLO. Like dealing with another ACL tear would be easier.
I'm
Um,
so sorry to hear that. Oh, wow.
yeah, I mean, again, like in the grand scheme of things, he should make a full recovery,
Yeah,
and like it's treatable, and that's good. But it is just like
yeah.
I think we've all been feeling kind of like emotionally beat up and like overworked for a while now. And it was just like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
I don't need this
I
No.
right
mean,
now.
yeah, it's like I'm glad you caught it, but
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad we caught it before it got worse.
Yeah.
And he
Okay.
has been on continuous preventative, so that is probably also helping because that'll be it. The
Mm.
preventative, like, I think it kills the eggs. So even though he's got adults in his system right now, it's the fact that I've been treating him continuously is probably keeping his load really low.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Oh.
so, but yeah,
And
Oh.
yeah, go
you
ahead,
did,
Sonia.
oh, I was gonna say you do every 4 weeks? Because I've heard of like some vets say, oh, you can stretch it out to every 6 weeks because
Yeah,
the manufacturers build in a
yeah,
little
I think
time.
I've been doing it every four pretty consistently. Hey, buddy, hey, take it. Um, yeah, I know like I've got the box that Rachel had with her in Wyoming with him that like says the dates. Like I usually he gets treated on the 27th of every month. Like that's the same day they get their heart guard, and then Barley gets his Adequan injections, and then like every 6 day or every 3 or whatever they get their Bravectin. Like I've got it all in a calendar. So I really don't think I missed a treatment. It's possible I did, but even then it's just like absolutely rotten luck because if I missed a treatment, the only time I would have gotten a little lax about it would have been like over the winter in Oregon. And like the
Right,
prevalence is so low here.
right. Yeah.
I wouldn't have been lax about it when I was in Latin America. Like
Mm.
I was
Mhm.
crazy
Mhm.
about this stuff when I was in Latin America. And I know he had a negative test in June of last year. So between his last negative test and leaving Latin America was only like 2 more months. Um, so I don't know. I don't know if I really want to blame Mexico for it, but like maybe it kind of seems more likely that it got through the protection while we were in like Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, like because I wouldn't be surprised if there's like strains down there that maybe aren't as well understood, or there's just a lot more circulating. There's way more mosquitoes. Like it's probably that seems like it's got to be where it comes from because Oregon is just like the worst luck in the world.
Right. God, that
Yeah,
really.
my mosquito brain is really like stretching right now on that, but I'm just so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm glad we caught it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
glad that I was even a little on the fence about like, does he really need a dental right now, or like, should I just work on more dental care at home? And like, I'm glad I decided to just like get it taken care of because like that's how we caught it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and you're so diligent about dental care and
mhm.
clearly like preventative and you know, it's it's making me realize how
Yeah, it's a good reminder to like not.
yeah,
I
because
feel
I
like last time I was in the vet with Barley, they were like, "Oh, they wanted to do some tests," and I was like, "Oh, he's been on." It probably was a heartworm test. I was like, "Oh, he's been on continuous preventative. We can skip that." Like, like I still like decline some of this care sometimes, and now I'm like, "Oh, maybe we got to be careful about that."
yeah.
I
No,
am
it's
always thankful my vet is really about like doing a lot of routine testing and
Yeah,
like with Soph, I feel like probably her last year, year and a half, her quality of life was probably so much better because they did that for things that I wouldn't have realized like ahead of time. So yeah, I don't know. I'm
yeah,
just really thankful for my vet and how they do those things.
totally.
Even
Yeah,
when it
no,
may seem like, oh, she's fine, like she's, like everything's great. There's no need to do all that. They were like, yeah, we're just going to do this. And I'm like, okay. And then, there was a lot of things that we did that I think really helped her because they found like
yeah.
stuff early. So
No, and even like I mean, I think this is one of the things with working dogs that like is good. I think we like our working and our sporting dogs, they get so much extra care because we're a little paranoid about stuff.
yeah.
And it probably helps. That's kind of what like I'm trying to figure out how to say it well with like the heartworm research where it's like I think because it's so unusual for a dog that is kind of like cared for at the level that Niffler's cared for to get a
Mm-hmm.
heartworm diagnosis that it's really
Hmm.
hard to get info on. Like I'm like, can he play shaping games? Can he can he do like brick wall set work training if I'm rewarding with food? Can he do fitness training that doesn't get his heart rate up? Like I
you would
think all
you
of
would
those
think
things should
so.
Huh?
You would think so, right?
I
If
think
it's not
so, but
like, yeah.
it's just a little surprising to me that there doesn't seem to be any research, and I think it's just because like most like the capital D dog nerds who would be thinking about those sorts of things and considering doing those sorts of things, like their dogs aren't getting heartworm because they're on
Mhm.
preventative. So it's like
Yeah,
it's the shelter, it's the street
right.
dogs and the like shelter mutts and the backyard dogs who who get it. So they're just like the only research I could find was comparing the dogs who are getting a 400-meter walk versus a 10-minute run, a 5-minute break, and then another 10-minute run. And like the dogs in that second condition had much more bad side effects as they went through the treatment. It still sounds like they all came through okay, but like again, then like nobody is really looking at like VO2 max output or like cardiac output. And I'm like, those are the things that I care about because he's an athlete, and nobody's looking at that because they're just street dogs. Where you're like, it seems like he seemed fine afterwards. Like that's kind of the attitude and a lot of the research about it.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, even like this is totally something, but like yesterday I had a pre-scheduled call my with Leslie Ide, who's Barley's like sports med veterinarian. Just talking to her about diet for Barley and like asking, now that he's turning 11 in 11 days, like should I be reducing protein and fat? Like what should I be like thinking about as far as feeding him? Because if you go to the normal vet, they'll tell you to feed senior food at this age.
Hmm.
And he's
Hmm.
currently on like he's on a performance diet. He gets muscle powder, like, and anyway, because what I've been noticing is Barley's been seeming a little hungry lately. And like, I just wanted to talk about the vet, talk to the vet about diet and like maybe ways to help him feel a little bit fuller. And she was like, well, you should pull up all of your recent blood work and check his ATP levels because like at his age, being a little bit extra hungry, like you just want to make sure it's not Cushing's.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. Like I hadn't even thought about that. I haven't done it
Hmm.
yet. And like, here's hoping that doesn't come up with anything. But like, these are the sorts of things that like the people, us in this call are more likely to catch maybe at the stage where it's like, oh, he's just a little hungry versus
Hmm.
waiting until he's like full on symptomatic. And again, hopefully he's just being a pig. Um, but that's probably what it is. But
What's he coming to Colorado for?
so he's going to be linking up with Heather, and then they're road tripping down south to Texas for that ocelot project. They're doing another round of the
Oh,
ocelot work.
That's awesome. And
Yeah,
when does that start? In like
that starts
January?
in January. Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, and we're trying. We figured with holiday travel, there's a chance we might be able to find someone who can kind of get him there because otherwise, I think last time we paid for a transport company, say it's like $700. It's just like it's fine. We'll do it if we have to, but it'd be nice to get him a ride with someone else. Yeah.
really wish I was closer to everybody.
We
Yeah.
wish we were too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, okay, so we should probably dive into this. Sanyu, I know I saw a post from you. Who else has video for us today?
If I am having technical difficulties, but if someone else goes first or a couple other people go first, I might be able to figure it out I do have a video, I'm having trouble getting it up on the
Okay.
YouTube. So, um, yeah, if someone else goes, I might have some at the end.
We can make Sanyo go first, as long as that's okay with you, Sanyo.
Yeah, I shared two videos, Kayla. The first one is not essential. It's about 38 seconds long, I think, and the first one is about a minute and a half. Um, yeah, I was actually a little unsure what to share this week because I'm not really stuck with anything.
Oh, well, that's
So
great. We love that.
was like
Yeah, I love it
well, I
too.
don't think I'm stuck. But yeah, it was just an interesting series of behaviors. So I thought, okay, well, I'll share that because my other videos are all extremely long. Um,
Cool. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. I have this pulled up. So it looks like yeah, is there anything you want to make sure that everyone knows as I'm going into this? Otherwise I'll just pull up the first video, 37-second one.
yeah, no, I suppose, like, I also just say it there, like, for me with a brick wall, I'm not aiming for a nose on target. Like, that's not my criteria, which I think most people seem to do that with a wall. I'm not
Hmm. Okay.
not opting for that. Having a very mouthy dog.
Yep. Got it. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get that started. Excuse me. Okay, so we have this shared up. Can people see this okay?
Yeah.
All right. We'll go ahead and hit play.
Nice. Well done.
Nice. The only
Yeah, so
mic. Go ahead.
yeah.
No, go ahead.
No.
You first.
Go for it.
Okay. Oh, shit. Also, I forgot to record this meeting.
I thought it said it was recording. It is
Oh,
recording.
okay, great. Never mind. Okay. The only micro thing I have for you is your marker comes, he already knows you've already started walking, you've pulled things out. So if you want to have a marker there, I don't know if nice is what you want as a marker. You should say it there. If you're using a marker. I wasn't sure if nice was intended to be praise or
Yeah,
not.
so nice is his marker.
Mhm.
So my thinking here is that I'm waiting until I reach him,
Gotcha.
effectively to like check
Hmm.
and then mark it. So like for me,
I think, yeah, that's
roll,
totally fine. Then what you want to
yeah,
still try to do then is don't reach into your pocket and pull
okay,
things out because you're still saying you've already reached here as you're saying nice.
okay,
So just try to think about cleaning that up. I do because I will do the same thing sometimes. Like I go back and forth between marking here and
mm-hmm,
marking here because it is helpful to have them stay put and be able to mark once you've come and checked what they've got.
mm-hmm.
But just that honestly, that's the only nitpick I've got is just
No, that's
we're
good. I
we're
mean,
all
part of
constantly making this is like this is like the first thing you learn when you're doing any sort of clicker training and the thing that all of us are going to be working on until we die.
yeah, no, I mean, the point of the brick wall for me is teaching him to hold his alert, but also for
Hmm.
me to clean up my like marking and rewarding because I tend
Hmm.
to give like a whole string of sentences of words. Um, so that is useful feedback. I think for me, if I'm standing back and I mark him, he'll probably fly up.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and yeah, but thank you. Yeah, I'll think about that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Just that was
So
the
was
only thing
that
I
one of
picked.
your goals for this session was to extend his indication before reward?
Yeah, so we've been working on that um s over time now. This is his fourth session on the brick wall, and the second, actually the first session with the toy as well. All the others have been food. But yeah, so like to slowly start teaching him to just stay put.
Yeah, that's awesome. And did
Yeah,
anyone
Could
go ahead,
you
Anne?
play that again since it was quick? I'd like to see it again in light of what we just said.
Just start with him in middle.
Nice. Well done.
Good job, bud. Oh, he's so cute.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and he's got such lovely body language. Yeah, is there anything else, Sonia, that you wanted to bring to our attention or bring up on this one? Otherwise, I'll just pull up that next video. Or anyone else.
Nothing from me.
Could you say again, Sonia, what you want your indication to be? Is it the down? Is like the look back okay as long as he's down, he or she? I'm sorry.
No, for me, the second video shows an indication that I don't reward. But for me, this lying down, if I can see he's sure and he's laying down and he just stays then watches me is fine. I'm not like that's what I want.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, we like this.
Nice.
He's
Well
he's very like loyal to staying there, and then this one we have one we
Yeah.
don't like.
And in the second video, yeah, like here in the beginning, I don't mark it because it's to me like he's guessing, like he kind of guessed.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't mark that. That
Yeah, he committed
It's
a
good
little
that you've
early.
added the weight. That's perfect because
and here I was
Too hard.
unfair
Yeah.
because yeah.
Oh no, buddy.
And then yeah, he it's like So this is where it was in the previous repetition that I did in the session. This was the first time he did this in
Yeah,
4 sessions,
that's-
and I suddenly was like, oh crap, maybe it is there.
Yeah, you're like, wait, where did I put it?
nice.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, what are you thinking here? What are your questions and thoughts before we dive in?
Well, I was extremely happy that he didn't bark at me at this point with this brick where he was adamant that it must be there. Because like 4 months ago, it would have just derailed. He would have just
Yeah.
barked and barked and barked and got incredibly upset. So I was very glad that he kept going. That for me was great. Yeah, I mean, this was interesting for me to watch because this throwing over of the bricks towards the end, this was a first for him. So like almost to me quite determined at this point. Yeah, I didn't actually have like massive thoughts on this other than that I was really happy that he didn't just shout at me and kept
Yeah.
going and kept trying to solve the puzzle. So yeah, any thoughts on, and then
Yeah.
again, like I would, because the point for me with this is for teach him to hold his alert. Again, I chose, walk into him before marking it and give him his ball.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think yeah, the marker makes sense here. How many sessions have you done since this one at this point?
So this was our fourth session in total. In this little session, this was the fourth rep, and since then we've shifted gears and doing large area searches.
Okay.
I've moved away from the brick wall for a while.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think the thing I would be curious about if and when you go back is just seeing whether or not you get any more of the pawing at the brick wall and just watching that. I think given that like one of your overall goals is to just clean things up so that you don't get as much shouting. Um, I'm happy with the fact that you didn't get that, but some of the pawing here would be something that I would just want to watch if it continued, versus if it's a one-off. So yeah, but if you've moved on to area searches, and then I would imagine that's actually probably a pretty good way to then be able to come back and have this. You haven't dug yourself a hole. You haven't like created a pattern here. It happened once. Now you're off doing other things. That's probably fine. And then, I think you had a couple opportunities here where I think you could have done different things. I don't know if any of them are like strictly better or worse than what you did. I could see a reasonable trainer choosing to interrupt the training session at this point
Okay.
and just like go put him on station, and reset things.
Okay.
I think that would be totally reasonable to have done here. I think what you did was also reasonable. Here would have been another point where you could have just called him away and put him on a station, but that one's a little trickier because he is kind of right on odor. And then here at this point, I probably wouldn't have spun. I probably
Okay.
would have we just had kind of like a whole thing happen there with he alerted and then he left and then he came back and it was already kind of like a little gunky as far as it wasn't a clean loop. So I probably wouldn't have added the spin here. I would have just gone ahead and marked at kind of the easiest level that you can, and then maybe then either end the session or maybe on the next one if you can stand closer and then add a spin or something like that, just to figure out how to add that back in a slightly cleaner rep. He held it here and did a great job,
Nice.
which is lovely. But those are like the three things. I think those were the three places that I saw that you could have made a couple other choices. And again, I don't feel super strongly that you should have done any of them except for maybe not doing the spin. And that's just a consistent piece of feedback that I think we pull out at least once a month in these coaching calls is seeing the places where we should have lowered our own criteria. So it's a common theme. And I mean, whenever you're on video, it's so easy to catch those things, and it's so hard in the moment because you've got your training plan in your head and you're going with it.
Yeah. No, it'd be interesting to see if he does. I think you're right. If he does do that again, if he does pour it again, I shouldn't reward that.
Yeah.
I should just interrupt.
And you can just kind of gently pull, and it also is nice, honestly, that you've got a border collie that can knock big, heavy things over, and he's just like, whatever, because both of my dogs have knocked their
I was
own
a little
brick
bit
wall over.
horrified when he knocked them over.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, great! Please don't.
Now
crack
he's going to
your
be scared of
wall.
it forever. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that is also great news, and in the grand scheme of things, not I think if you had if we were talking to Sonia and Drifter was doing this, I might be like, oh, Sonia, we probably should interrupt him the second that he's knocking the brick wall over, because he's a different man. And
We love Drifter, Sonia.
we love Drifter, yes. But yeah, or I can, or if Maddie were here with Onyx, I think some of our big boy Labradors, I would be a little bit more adamant about probably trying to interrupt any brick wall smashing, because otherwise we're just going to trade a bunch of Kool-Aid men. But for him, I think it's all right. But do let us know, if and when you go back to the brick wall, if it comes back up, I'd be curious to see, if
Yeah.
I think the
No, I
fact that
definitely will.
you didn't go back and do more, like honestly, was probably a smart training decision. Whether he did that consciously or not, take credit for it. Um, that just it really helps make sure that he can't make that a pattern and can't make it a habit if you don't go back and do it again. And if you give him a little bit more time before he goes back, that should kind of help clear some of
Mm-hmm.
those some of that training gunk out.
Cool. Thanks.
Do you do blank searches with him? And does he aggress and false indicate?
So I have not done any blank searches with him. I actually offered to lead a Skillshare on this next month because I haven't done it, and I don't want to like make a mess of it, and I'm really interested to hear. I felt very strongly that I should start doing it and then listen to a really good podcast about blank searches and young handlers, actually more than young dogs, and decided, okay, well, we can actually just put that on the back burner for a while. So
Oh,
I haven't done any blank searches.
what's the podcast? Share.
Yeah, well, sorry, my brain is so fried. Those three women who have that
Canine
um
Oh.
Detection Collaborative.
yes, that thing. Yeah, I'll share it. It was really useful to listen to.
What was their reasoning behind not introducing it early on?
So they suggested doing it when you have, well, let me go back to the thinking of
I think.
uh
Well, yeah, I remember they have a lot of big feelings
yeah.
about both
So
blanks and
Michelle was
blinds. Go.
about basically saying there was many things, many aspects to it, but the big thing was if you are inexperienced, yeah, I'll need to find it again. It came down
Mhm.
to like pushing your dog and reading your dog and unconsciously the influence of a inexperienced handler on an inexperienced dog when you know that it's a blank search, but then also even if you don't know that it's a blank search and someone's helping you, that you put too much pressure on your dog at the wrong times. This is now a very messy way of explaining it. Um, so
Yeah, it's been
like
interesting.
now,
I'm partway through also their other most recent episode, in which they all very vehemently said, do not teach an all clear.
mhm,
And like don't work on that. And it'd be really interesting to have more discussions within like our Slack or Facebook group or WhatsApp
mhm,
or something with some of these episodes because there have been some things they've said where I'm like, oh, interesting. That is like not the same thing that I've heard from other people. And like,
mhm,
I think a lot of people can be right about a lot of different things.
mhm.
And like, I don't do a ton of blinds, or I don't do a ton of blanks
Yeah. Well, this is why
either.
I really wanted to have it as a topic to discuss
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
A good
I
one.
like I want to hear other people's experiences before I do,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
set off.
I wonder if it's agreed. Is it unnecessary with our line of work if we don't have well-defined search areas? Um,
Yeah, I don't think all clears make sense for us to do. Ooh, goes my laptop. Um, but blanks do seem really important to me. So I'm surprised. I was surprised when they kind of came down relatively anti-blank. They're also relatively anti-blind pretty early on. They're very like blinds are for the handler, and you really need to make sure that your dog's skills are ready for that. And I think they're right on some of that. But I mean, one of the things we always need to keep in our own heads. Particularly, I've had similar experiences with the Canines Talking Sense podcast, where like we're not exactly their audience, and particularly with the Canine Detection Collaborative, the three ladies, we're pretty close to HRD and wilderness search and rescue as far as what we do, but still some pretty big differences as far as like the size of our odor and the density of our targets. Like we find a lot more targets in a given day than a search and rescue team will. And we, especially compared to a lot of the like nosework competitor audience that pay a lot of attention to Stacy, and that like Stacy in particular spends a lot of time coaching, we aren't quite in that world. We've got different dogs, we've got different expertise, and I think one of the things at least I find helpful to remind myself is that sometimes these podcasts, like and we have to do the same thing in our podcast. We don't know exactly who's listening, and we need to try to talk to people at all levels, all at the same time, because we don't necessarily know our audience. So I think sometimes when they come in with some of these absolutes that I question, I at least try to remind myself, like, most of their audience probably aren't like operational handlers. A lot of their audience are probably like novice nosework people who just got into this 6 months ago and are at like peak of excitement, but not necessarily peak of expertise yet. But yeah, I'm excited for that one.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's kind of the same thing with us. Like I was just in an interview with someone where they were so excited about conservation dogs, and they were like, so like what could be our take home for like people at home who like want to get out there and train their dogs to do this, and I was just like, I actually don't have like, I'm not going to tell you to go train your dog to do like an endangered orchid, or like there actually isn't like, I mean, they kind of like guided me into it. I was like, oh, antlers, shed hunting, mushrooms. Like, yes, we do have options, but like, it's always hard. I don't know, doing these things responsibly, particularly when you're talking to like an unknown audience, is always tricky, I guess is the point. Just kind of flexing on. And yeah, and I think especially for something like the brick wall, I would be interested in eventually, like at least personally, teaching my dogs to do an all clear on a blank on the brick wall, where like there's a very discrete thing that they are looking for, and they can learn it is not here. I go back to my station and like perform an all clear. I think that's really, really useful for training and for testing in what we do. And there even can be some like actual operational uses for that sort of thing. And I don't think that any of the people in the Canine Detection Collaborative do that sort of work. But yeah, like the chronic wasting disease team, like they have to be teaching the dogs an all clear, because the dogs have to be able to go around a scent wheel and say, nope, it's not here. I'm going to go perform my behavior. It doesn't teach them to, like, yeah. This is the most recent episode, which wasn't about blanks and blinds, but they were like, no, do not teach an all clear. It'll teach your dog to quit. And I was like, there's some nuance in there that I would add depending on your goals and what you've worked on and the foundations you have. But I see why maybe, again, if you're worried that you're talking to someone who's been training in nosework for 6 months and has like a pretty novice dog and they're a pretty novice person, it's not in the first year or two of skills that I would necessarily focus on for like a sport dog.
Yeah, absolutely. I shared the link to the podcast in the chat. I think it
thank
was
you.
this one. I listened to it a while ago, as you can hear. So, yeah, but I think it was this one.
Yeah, Michelle, what were you thinking as far as blinds or blanks? Were you thinking that might be a way to kind of explore some of his frustration behaviors, or what? I assume there was a line to your questioning there.
Oh, well, I was just noticing as a dog that might false indicate just out of frustration, an attempt to get the reward. Yeah, as sort of a testing way. But at the same time, I think that those situations are far less common in field situations. Yeah, I don't know. The first border collie I worked with, I ended up skipping a lot of the small work, and we just started with small area searches because that dog was just so frustrated with doing any sort of cone work or anything like that, and we really had a minimal amount of time. So I think if you have the time to do it, you can probably get to the point where the dog's less frustrated after doing a lot of blank searches and realizing it's okay, it can be not here. But I think if you can't invest the time, then it could do more harm than good if you just do it. I don't know. Would
So,
anyone
Rochelle,
agree?
we've been increasing search time, um, and what has happened the first few times is that he'll just stop and stand and watch me. Like, he's not false indicating, but he's just standing and watching me, um, waiting for, I don't know,
Okay.
some
And if you just
help or
does
instruction. But
he keep searching once he realizes?
yeah, and then if I just tell him let's keep going, um, he does keep running. So he hasn't falsely indicated yet.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I think. I mean, if it's a small area,
so
there's a few cones, your chances of lying down in the right area and maybe getting the reward
mhm.
are a bit higher than, yeah, just by increasing time and increasing distance between hides, you're sort of almost adding in incrementally in a sense that, more space, more time is also kind of like more blank.
Yeah, I hear you.
So
I
you're
hear
kind of
you.
naturally incorporating it. Whereas,
Mhm.
yeah, so if you're not going to be doing discrete searches, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No,
But
that's
yeah,
that's
if it hasn't been a problem in your small area searches, then I don't think I'd stress about it.
Yeah, I did wonder. Sorry, I know we're talking a lot here about one dog, but I did feel after that last session that that's also why I stopped for a bit with the brick wall, because I know, like, with the lineups and things, Skid, he does not cope well with the lineups. Like, so I also wondered whether the pawing at the bricks was maybe also just an element of that, and also that he,
Mhm.
like, in all the other sessions, he kind of stuck to the wall, but in this one, he was running around and kind of almost like, I'm done now with this little wall
Yeah.
thing.
Well, and even, I think there may have been some like weird odor dynamics going on for you guys here too. Um, so just because this is kind of interesting. Um, so if you look at like where he seems to be getting odor, um, yeah, he wants to check a little more, but so he's getting odor in that crease, in that seam in between the
Mm-hmm.
bricks and the wall. Pretty
Yeah.
consistently, he's doing the same thing over here. And it's kind of like throughout the whole thing, it doesn't seem like the odor is like coming out through the hole in the brick the way that you would expect. And
Okay.
I don't know if it's because if it's windy, like this was, I assume, right after the other one, just based off of the
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
So I
What
don't,
is the odor?
It's
Kong.
Kong.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that would have shifted. Um, but it seems like the odor was also presenting kind of behind the bricks in a way that was really unhelpful, as far as teaching him not to paw at bricks, and helping him pinpoint appropriately. And I don't know, I've noticed that sometimes it seems like that happens with my bricks too, where like sometimes it seems like the odor is presenting in the seam between the brick and the wall more than coming straight out of the holes in the bricks. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that generally these brick wall drills are good things to do in moderation and when you have specific goals, and it sounds like that's what you've done, and now you're moving back on to something else. And like I think they're really good in moderation with specific goals. I think they're also a really good way if you've got like 20 minutes to get some training in, get some reps in, and like you don't have to go walk a quarter mile to go set a hideout. Um, I don't I don't think that on their own they do everything. And I think those large area searches are just really important. So yeah, it sounds like you're getting a good balance in. All right. So I think luckily we talked a lot about skin, but luckily I think we've only got the one other video, so we've got plenty of time. So Anne, I will pull this up. What do you want to tell us about this?
This is when training goes way sideways.
All right.
Awesome. Yay.
We love these videos.
These are the ones we learn the most from. I
Yeah.
definitely learn the most when it's a train wreck.
Yeah, it was like a surprise train wreck, but so I've I've been going through Paul Bunker's book with Zoo, and so she loves to sniff. I guess for background for folks that don't know her, loves to sniff, but she doesn't always tell me when she's found something because like that's boring. Like love to go keep sniffing. So I've been trying to go back to the indication training. So I've gone through her Paul Bunker's book again, which is I've want her to have a down and a nose hold for her indication. And it's really just to let me know because she'll sniff and be like, there it is, there it is, there it is. And I really just want her to stop and be like, let me clearly know. So I've been doing putting the odor down in view where she can see it, and she's been doing the down nose hold inside. And I moved from doing a verbal yes, which for our just the way I've taught her, when I say yes, I want her to stay there. I moved from that to doing a click with the clicker, because the clicker she can release. So it's just how I've taught her previously. And I realized I was being a little inconsistent. So what I've done inside so far before this session was put a hide where she could see. She downs, nose holds, I click, and then she can move again. And I treat her and then kind of keep moving it around. And I've been varying the time. So I'm trying to build up duration. So in that book, it says 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 7 seconds, and you kind of vary it. So none of that's in this video. She was doing Rockstar for that. And I was trying to move it outside and bridging it to a search a little bit because I tried to challenge myself and I entered a nosework trial this weekend, which is like 4 exterior searches, 1 hide each. So I moved it outside to our backyard, and you'll see the first search. What happens when she moves from the search to just like me obviously placing it in front of her is she'll just do the nose hold but not the down. And so my idea here was that she doesn't down because she wants to keep searching. And so my plan for the session was wait her out when she downs, then release her to another search. So I had like 3 hides out. So it wasn't just one. It was like, yeah, as soon as you indicate, I'm going to treat you, and then you can do another search. And then my plan at the end, when all the hides were found, was to just let her sniff and like explore the backyard and run and have fun. But what happened was the first hide, she did down, I clicked and treated. The second hide, it was like a little bit elevated, which I didn't intend. I thought it wasn't. So she had trouble with the down. And then I missed the point where she was kind of figuring that out. She was doing the nose hold, but not the down. She was kind of figuring it out. And then when she downed, I missed the click. And I thought, well, I'll just wait. She'll go back and do it again and I'll click. And she didn't go back. And then, so I was like, okay, we'll just reset. I brought her inside. And then I did it again, and she found all the hides, but she didn't nose hold or down for any of them.
Oh no.
Like I broke, and she doesn't break very easily, I thought, but she broke like really fast. So, I mean, break, I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, the behavior, she usually is pretty persistent, but yeah, I knew she was on all three. She didn't nose hold or down on any of them. So I brought her back in, and that part isn't in the video because it was kind of dizzying, but I did the
Yeah.
inside part again, where I just showed her, she could see down, click treat. She could see it down, click treat. And then I brought her back out and I just did one, like quick one, were super easy. And then when she saw it and she downed and I clicked and treated and celebrated and let her run. So,
Mhm.
but I would love feedback on this because I did not
Yeah.
expect her. Like, I mean, when it happened, I was like, oh, I missed it. And then I didn't expect it to break. So it is longer because
Yeah,
it's
that's
over.
okay. Yeah, because there's a couple
Yeah, so feel
attempts at.
free to fast forward or anything. And
Okay,
yeah.
great. Yeah, let's get into it.
Nice girl. Ready? Search. Good job! Yeah!
Nice
Very
job.
good. Good girl.
I will say I'm already like really impressed with her ability like to have been told free when she's on a log line in the backyard and like how badly this dog wants to run
I
and to have
know.
like collected herself and stayed on the porch and worked that odor. Like that was awesome.
Thank you.
Girl. Good job. Good.
And she
Ready?
stands like a person.
Ready? Not yet.
Crazy.
Ready? Come here, Bean. Ready? Susu. Oh, Bean. Susu. Good. Ready? Search next.
She's on it there.
Yeah, interesting. It looks like she got distracted with a critter scent. So I think knowing where this went, this would have probably been a place to just cue it down.
Hmm.
That
Yeah, I was
second
going to
time
say
she
that
went
too.
back. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think she thought she was indicating, she forgot the down part. And then
Yeah.
once she had stood there a while, she thought, well, this isn't what she wants. And she went to look for something else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
This
was
is what,
okay.
yep, we
Thinking-
had a similar thing happen with the dogs we worked with in Kenya, where when we were getting them off of Caracol Scat, and withholding the click for that, then we had at least one session with one of the dogs where she was just like, well, I don't know what to alert to at all then anymore. Like, just completely gave up on us, and we had to like take a bunch of steps back to like click for sniff with Cheetah. But
Well, and
yeah,
we
and I go ahead, Sonia. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was just saying, we were just talking about like forgetting to mark at the right place and forgetting to like all the things we forget to do. And I think the dogs too, they're like, oh, I found it. And they just like,
Mhm.
they forget, like, I was supposed to do something else.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, and especially with like, I mean, it's kind of a weird substrate. It's it's a little funny. And again, I think here, right there, I think she's got a critter scent that like that pulling that paw up is a pretty classic like switching over to critter thoughts body language. And then that like deep pressing into that crevice. But then she does come back to it. So yeah, I think like if you had one thing here, she thinks she's alerting. I think that's the one thing. You could have just marked and rewarded there, or you could have just downed. Tell her to down.
Yeah, I've gone through this with Greta because at home she'll do a wonderful down and stare indication. But when we go new places, I know for a fact, especially on ground like this, where that she won't lie down all the way. So I'm ready for that. And if she even just stops and stares and maybe just crouches a tiny bit, then I'll reward that. And then I'll go back and just do a loop, a training loop where I just put the Kong out, make her go to it, and make her lie down and reward her. And I do that like 5 times so that she gets used to lying down on that substrate.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and even here she did one more little like looks at you. It's brief, but like there was one more where she was like, are you gonna
She
mark me
makes
or
eye
not? You know?
contact.
It gets worse.
Oh no, that's okay.
I
We've all
missed
been
the
there.
click. I missed the click there.
Yep.
And I was waiting for her to put her nose and the down, and then, yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, yep.
So hard though, the timing, and you're not quite sure, right? And you don't want to click too soon.
Oh,
You're hoping for something
Right.
else.
And
Oh,
she
no.
gave up, my poor girl.
Oh
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
So what I would do,
We're
Anne, is
laughing with you because we've all been
Yeah.
there, Anne.
yeah.
I-
So just right after this session, right after our call, just go out there if it's not raining, and put the scent right on the lawn where it's easy, and then just if she still might not down
Oh, little
because she's
bean.
outside, and then just reward her for finding it, and tell her to down, and then just do it a few times, and she'll
Nice.
get better. Because this is exactly what Greta did, and she's getting better. Greta's getting better.
No, that sounds good.
I've had a similar issue with my dog Sabala. She has a really, really high, like tactile hunting drive. And so I was,
Wait, is that one?
Yeah.
That's one. So this is, yeah, she finds
Oh,
all
Michelle.
3. 1, 2.
But she looked up at you, right? On the first one when she found
and
it?
3. And she didn't. And then
I saw you
said,
saw
"Oh,
all
I-
3.
I broke
Can you
you."
yeah, you saw all 3. Oh, Beanie
Oh
babe.
yeah. A little stress shake.
So this is where we went inside, and I just did the easy, like, I'm just gonna put it in front of your face and you'll see it, and practice our down indication again after that.
But you need to practice. You need to do that same session in the yard.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
the-
think that's the intermediate
that's the
step that you need
indication
next.
training. Yeah.
Yeah.
Without the search part.
Yeah, and then, so the next part after this, so this is going on too long. Poor girl. So after this, I bring her in and I do the, like, just putting it inside, putting it visual, and then I just do one on the deck.
Okay. Michelle, what were you saying about Sabala? Did you?
Yeah.
I don't think you quite
yeah,
finished
well,
your
I've
thought
had
there.
a similar issue. I don't know if you're like dead set on the down, but would you be opposed to her just doing, a freeze point? Because I don't know. I've heard that because the down has to make you like relax all your muscles. And I noticed the same thing with Sabala when she's in an outdoor environment and in a really high search drive mode, like having to break and do a down is sort of the opposite of the energy she has in the moment. And well, she's a pointer, so it's that instinct is to freeze. And so if I have her do something completely different, it almost like de-escalates the excitement of the find. Because she's not a huge reward driven dog. And so I need to make the search itself and the indication as compatible to what's fun for her.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to anything. The reason, so going back to my initial hope for the session, the reason I'm having the down was that her freeze, normally she's so fast, and the freeze duration gets super short. The down was really just to hopefully have her give something that was a little more clear.
Yeah.
And my hope for this session, again, before it went way sideways, was that I would have multiple hides so it would be like find, down, reward, go find the next one, and kind of the find the next one being the reward. And then at the end, which does come up at the end of the video, is like releasing her to just run and sniff and what she wants to do. So I'm not the down to me isn't so important. It's just it was a troubleshooting for me in that loves to search so much. If I know where the hide is, I can tell she's like, it's there, it's there, it's there. But if I don't know where it is, like I just needed a second for her to stop and tell me where it is. And I thought the down would help with that. Because the standing and freezing was easy for her to move on from.
Yeah. I think it might be worth considering the like, yeah, do you fight on the duration of the freeze or do you fight on the position of the down? Like I think either way, like there are definitely like pros and cons to both. I think it is interesting that it seems like, yeah, like our pointers and our setters and our spaniels seem to be like the freeze comes so easy to them, and that like again there's pros and cons to that. And I've had people say similar things to me about border collies where like the down comes so easy to the border collies because when border collies are aroused they want to get slinky, you know, versus when pointers are aroused they either want to run or stop, like those are the two options. That I've had people caution me that using a down with a border collie can make false alerts easy because it's like as soon as they're aroused, they're crouching.
That
I
makes
don't
sense.
think that necessarily has been, I think we were talking in the context of Barley and like his love of creative selection of targets. I don't think the down is the problem for Barley, but I think it is like an interesting point. And again, just comparing across breeds where like I doubt that the down would be as challenging if you had a different breed. So maybe thinking, as Michelle is saying about, yeah, would maybe going with the position that's easier for her, but really working on duration. You've got options, I think. But okay,
Yeah.
let's finish this up, and then it's okay if we go a little over since we spent a long time on Skid. Yeah.
Oh, girl. What did I do?
You're like, oh
Ready?
no.
Come here.
I did that
Ready?
to you.
Ready? 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 Color. Good job. Yeah, you found them all. Can you show me though, huh? Because I broke you. Ready?
You
Search.
might be able to skip a little bit.
Oh boy.
Yeah, till when we're on the
We're
back.
done.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah. So in between
Yeah.
there, I went inside and
Ready?
did the really easy, I'm showing you the
I
hide.
know. Ready? Good search.
Nice. Beautiful.
Cozy! Oh, feedback. Good job. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Good job. All done. All done. Yay. Ready? Wait, go sniff. Good girl.
Nice. Some good zooms.
Yeah.
Wow. God, she's fast.
So yeah, I went inside and did the like, I'm just showing it to you, down, down, down. And then we went back outside and did the super easy, like it's very obvious on the deck. And then I was like, this is the best dog ever. Because I broke you.
Yeah, we've all been there. And yeah, I think like watching the video back, you probably basically know the places where you could have done down, you could have done something else. But thank you for sharing it. Thank you for being
One
brave
more
and
day
doing this.
between the coaching call and the training session. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, That's the first time where when I tried to wait her out, she gave up. So that, I mean, that's good
Yeah.
information for me.
Yeah.
To not raise that criteria so much
Yeah.
outside. Um,
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. I've done the same thing. Niffler will, yeah, Niffler has some similar tendencies. He will, and his thing is he will down, but he won't source. Like he will down like 3 meters away and has like a beautiful alert from a distance, and then he'll like as I get up to him, he'll like down, and then as I get to like within marking distance, he'll get up and start and finish sourcing the odor. And it's like it's messy, it's ugly, but like it's fine. But yeah, like I have been in the exact same position where like I'm like, but like this doesn't work, and then he'll just abscond to the woods and go freelance for a while. And it's really disheartening. So yeah, doing it in the backyard is probably nice as far as like it limits the damage and like how much she could do. But yeah,
yeah.
I think the biggest thing would have been just to remember that you can cue the down as part of your arsenal in there. I think
Yeah.
if you had the my guess is that had the like verbal cueing of the down been something that was like a contingency plan for you going in, you would have pulled it out.
Hmm. Yeah, that would kind of be my question because then, after that point, um, trying to work back to having her down and rewarding that, but what I could have done in the moment, and I know obviously waiting it out was not the solution this time, but cueing the down and having that in my head. Obviously not missing the click, but then cueing the down when I do.
And you got to be ready for the possibility that even when you cue the down, she's not going to lie down all the way because it's a totally different context and she might not want to lie down on the rocks or the leaves. But even if she gives it a little effort, I feel you should reward even the tiniest little effort.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's a great point. Maybe like just my mental state going into it, the criteria in my mind was a little too high.
Yeah, and then you could just you know that you have to just take that piece of lying down on near the tree as a separate exercise that you can do. So she knows that she can lie down at that place in that context.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are all good options. And yeah. Yeah, it's hard because like the number one thing you're wanting to work on is that like odor obedience and like performing a behavior at the odor. So yeah, like figuring out what is acceptable for you as you're like building up towards that on the fly is tough. But yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really helpful. And yeah, I was like, this is a different video that but then like that's the helpful one. So uh
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
not the
that's
fun ones, but they're the helpful ones.
yeah. Yeah. No, all that's helpful just to kind of keep in mind with my mindset when I start going outside now.
Yeah. And like in the grand scheme of things, like deep breath, it was a really ugly training session, but like you didn't actually do anything like that horribly wrong. You kind of made the same mistake several times in a row, but like it wasn't. I've watched other training sessions where I'm like, oh wow, we have like a long list of things to work on here. And like there's not a long list here. It was kind of the same kind of one or two mistakes depending on how you define your criteria. Um, that just like both of you kind of stuck with your guns in a way that then didn't work out. It wasn't actually a total train wreck. Um,
Well, and that's a great point. Like going forward, then, so now that we've had this session,
mhm.
I haven't thought about this yet, so I'm just thinking out loud. Would it be good to like do a few of those obvious indoor sessions, just kind of firm up the down, and then maybe do like a few like obvious deck sessions to firm up the down before then going back to like the grass?
Yeah, I liked the deck session. I Yeah, I wonder about, yeah, maybe in like the center of the yard where the down is physically really easy.
Yeah,
And just like
yeah,
play around a little bit and see like is it the wet leaves? Is it the kind of like the weird rockiness? Like are there places where she is able to offer it? Because she's able to do it on the porch. So like figure out like is it a gap in her skill and understanding, or is it actually something like tactile that is
yeah,
making it more challenging when you move it elsewhere? And like if you can figure out which one of those it is, then that gives you some ideas of like which direction to go next.
yeah, yeah. That sounds great.
Because
Yeah,
like she's not a super fluffy dog. She's got a big chest. Like there's a chance that just lying down on slick wet leaves is like, eh.
yeah,
Like that could be a part of it. Um, I know I was doing training the other day with the dogs where like my goal for training with them was to work on getting them into denser brush and vegetation. And I accidentally threw their toy that they were searching for into blackberries. And like, shocker, both of them were like, this is actually not a thing physically that we're interested in doing right now. I was like, fair, okay, I will go get the ball. Yeah. Yeah, you remember when I did that to you? Remember when it was so mean? Uh, so yeah.
no, that sounds
But
good.
again,
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
like yeah, it's not that you made a bunch of attempts to fix something and each attempt made it worse, or like it wasn't that like every single step made it worse. It was just that like you didn't quite have enough backup plans in your head,
Yeah,
or didn't have the right one for that moment. And like this is how we learn that we need to have that backup plan, and we learn what works and what doesn't. Because I think generally waiting out on her has worked for you in the past, so it's reasonable that you tried it. And yeah, needed to pivot, but like now you can. And like it's a
yeah,
long
yeah,
6 minutes, but it's 6 minutes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. No, that's helpful. Thank you.
yeah, of course. Alrighty. Well, I think I unfortunately have to go do my stats homework that is due at midnight tonight, and we have had 2 weeks to do, and I have not started. So
I hear you.
Goodness, you must be stressed.
it's fine. It's like 4% of my grade. So yeah, we're hanging in there. And so yeah, don't forget this Thursday, so in 2 days we've got Arden is coming on and doing like a private chat about like adolescent dogs and like doubts and like do you wash this dog and like how to like survive kind of like doubts about your adolescent or newer dog. And I think it's going to be really fun. She and I have been talking like on side channels a lot about this dog, Letty, and like what has been going on there. And it's got a really happy ending, which is, I think, both very nice. And we're going to talk about, I think, hopefully the fact that like it doesn't always turn out that the like she figured out a way to work with Letty and like the patients and the foundations really worked out. And like, yeah, it seems like it's going really well. It doesn't for every dog. And every situation. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about that a little bit as well. Because yeah, but
Are
it
you
should be
gonna
fun.
record that one?
Yeah, we'll record it, but it is just like she and I have been talking about, do we want to do it on the podcast? Do we want to? And she didn't quite feel like it was something she wanted that public. But within Patreon, yeah, we can all hang and watch it. So because yeah, I think it is at a time for y'all over on the other side of the Atlantic. It's not a friendly time for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. All right. Well, we'll see some of you then. Michelle, you and I will keep going back and forth in WhatsApp about March.
All right.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Sonia.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.